Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he hopes to announce the release of all hostages still held in Gaza within the next few days. His comments come as Israel's military campaign continues, forcing Gazans to seek refuge wherever they can, sleeping on streets and in tents in areas around Israel, which they deem safe. But tanks and combat aircraft have carried out strikes that witnesses say left several homes in ruins. Meanwhile, U.S. and Israeli delegations are set to hold indirect talks with Hamas in Cairo after it agreed to parts of Donald Trump's ceasefire proposal. Here's what Netanyahu had to say.
We are on the brink of a huge success. It is not finalized yet. We are working tirelessly on that, and I hope that in the coming days, even during the festival of Sukkot, I would be able to inform you about the release of our hostages, those alive and the deceased, in one round as the IDF remains deep in the Gaza Strip.
DW Middle East analyst Shani Rosanis now joined me right here in the studio. Shani, the release of all remaining hostages is finally on the table. How likely is that to happen?
We will know in the next days. I mean, negotiations are starting tomorrow, and we will see, how serious both sides are and can they finally make it happen. But we need to remember there's a lot of good intentions, there's a lot of optimism. We see the Americans mostly infusing into this process, but there are still very major hurdles that both sides need to clear out of the way in order to make any meaningful progress. We can take a look maybe at the key sticking points that we have between the two sides. Well, the first one is the timeline of the release of the hostages. The Hamas gave a principal agreement to releasing them, but exactly how and when will it happen? Israel and the U.S. wanted 72 hours. Hamas has already said clearly this is not a reasonable timeline. And it's also they're trying to condition more of Israel's withdrawal or more obligations from Israel before stripping themselves in a way from their assets as they see the hostages. So that's the very key issue. The next one would be the disarmament of Hamas. Again, principal agreement of Hamas, but if you look into the fine print, you realize that they're talking about a point in the future where they would actually be part of the whatever Palestinian entity will come to become, in Gaza, and saying we will then give our weapons there to that kind of a government or military or defense forces. That's, of course, a non-starter for Israel. They demand an immediate disarmament of Hamas. This is a very big question. And the third one would be, what is this future for Gaza? What would be the government for Gaza? Trump plan talks about sort of a board of peace and a sort of a technocratic government that will be, of course, connected to the Palestinian Authority, but also some other forces, Arab forces. Hamas is unequivocally against that. They don't want any Arab or any other foreign interference in Gaza. They say Gaza is Palestinians. It's Palestinian. It's for us Palestinians to rule and control it. So these are not small details that still need to be ironed. So
we're inching towards peace there. But there's no official ceasefire yet. Where does it all leave Hamas?
Correct. Well, Israel basically holds fire. It tells the soldier, the IDF, sort of stay put, but only fire back when you feel that you are under threat. We are hearing some reports from Gaza this is not necessarily the case, but there's also no binding agreement in the sense that this is not a ceasefire, that the other side, that is Hamas, has agreed to something. So Israel is sort of, the way it puts it, it's a sort of a gesture of goodwill, trying to create the conditions for advancement in the negotiations, but Israel does not see itself committed to any of that. And it puts Hamas also in a place that we see a lot of people trying to go back into the Gaza Strip, something that Hamas would very much like to see. But again, things in Gaza are very flexible. Everything is very fragile also. And we see that every movement from either one of the sides, that will bring, either for further, escalation that brings civilian casualties in masses in Gaza, or for Israel, hurting any soldiers, that might bring everything to collapse.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been accused in the past of backing down on these hostage deals. Can he back down now? Or is he stuck on this particular path?
Well, it seems like President Trump kind of put him in a corner, and he's not very much, he doesn't have much room for maneuver there. We also see the public outcry in Israel very much, getting louder and hard for him to ignore. And he understands, if you read carefully between the lines, you see what he was saying yesterday. He understands this is election year. Election is officially within a year time, need to happen by October 26th, but it's probably going to happen much sooner, and he understands that, and of course he wants to have that. So Trump has backed him into this corner. Netanyahu seems to be trying to play the scenario in a way that says, I want to be part of this. This is a joint plan, Israel-American plan. This is, of course, a double-edged sword in the sense that the more he shows that Israel is part of the plan, the more resistant Hamas and the Arab partners have to it, and the harder negotiations get.
This moment is being seen as the best chance we have seen for a long time for peace to actually be sustained there. What if it fails?
It's a kind of a dire thought that nobody wants to entertain, but I think you're right, Michael, that there are chances it could fail because, as we were mentioning, there's many still points to be discussed. Israel promises it will go on with its military, with its very aggressive military, now trying to take over Gaza City and the central camps, which have not been fully occupied by Israel yet. Hamas, of course, would not want to see that. And Israel, according to Netanyahu, this is the main leverage point Israel is holding against Hamas. But at the same time, we need to keep in mind, Israel has tried every military mean it has for the last 2 years, and it brought her very limited results. So let's hope that maybe we have a path for something else.
Well, thanks, as always, to DW Middle East analyst Shani Rosanis.
You're welcome, Michael.